Hi, welcome to Time for Tea Designs YouTube channel. It's Vic here today and I'm going to be taking you through how I made this interactive card using the brand new release. So the products I used to make this card, I've got some bits from the Slimline pull tab interactive die, and then I'm also going to be using the Slimline scalloped dies. So this is the nesting die and I'm using the second size down. And then along with that I'm using the rectangle from the postage stamp frame dies because these layer up together really nice. And then I've just gone ahead and die cut a couple of the pieces that we're going to need today. So I've just gone ahead and die cut that long piece that you get in the Slimline pull tab interactive dies, and then I've also gone and die cut a piece of grass using the Slimline hillside scene dies. So I have two pieces here. This is the slit that I'm going to need to make my piece to move across. So what I'm doing here, I'm just trimming down that piece of grass just to make sure everything measures up. And then we have the notch, so I'm just placing that on the end that's going to be pulled. And then this piece here is another small rectangle. You can use that to wrap around the card to stop your piece from moving all the way out. So I've just gone ahead and adhered two dies down. I've adhered that notch piece down and then also the piece that makes the little slit which you need to make your creature or whatever it is move across the card. And then this long rectangle piece is going to go behind the grass piece. And there's also another die included in this set, which is an arrow, which is really cool. And when it's die cut, it has a score line, so you just need to fold that and put it right on the end of that long rectangle piece, because this is the piece that you are going to be pulling. So this is going to make your image move across your card. So now that's done, you can obviously use coloured cardstock for this, but I just wanted to use some of this distress ink just because I like the colour of the green. So I'm going to go ahead and use my blender brush to add a bit of colour to these pieces. And then this piece here, the one you pull across, I always use the colours that I'm using, because if you don't add colour to that piece, it's just going to show the bottom of your card. So just bear that in mind when you're making your cards. So this piece here, I use paper to die cut this because it has all the score lines on this. So you just need to fold it how I'm showing you in the video, and it makes like a notch. So you just pop this through, and this is the piece that your image is going to be moving. This is what it's going to adhere to. So I've just gone ahead and, as I said, I've used paper because my card is a bit too thick. So you might want to experiment, you might find it easier with paper. So now I'm just folding that long rectangle piece through, so that will wrap around that rectangle piece. And then I'm just going to use some PVA glue just to adhere the bottom part and then the two parts that are going to be stuck to the rectangle piece. So you don't want to add glue to the top parts. So as you can see, I'm lifting up that flap piece that's going to adhere down to the rectangle, and then them two pieces that are poking through, they're the pieces you don't want to add any glue to. So as you can see, it moves across where it's meant to, and now I'm just going ahead and adhering down that arrow die cut piece. And I'm just giving this a little squeeze with my fingers just to make sure it's adhered down nicely. And then this is the piece that you will need to wrap around your card. I didn't use this piece in the end because I have a large snail that's going to be stopping the piece from pulling out too far. So if you just have one image on there, you need to wrap that piece around, but you need to put it where the image is going to stop. So you don't have to have the image come all the way across. You can wrap that piece round in the middle if he's just going to the middle of your card. So now that's done, I'm moving on to my background, and I have the Slimline Scene Builder stencil, and I'm just going in with some pink and purple distress ink, and I'm using my blender brush to just blend the colours in nicely. This is one of the new stencils, and it's lovely. I love using this for my slimline cards. It makes everything so much more easier. And when I'm ink blending, I tend to just apply the ink to the stencil first before bringing it up to the card with my brush. So this will help stop any harsh edges. Unless you want harsh edges, that's absolutely fine. But this is what I tend to do when I'm ink blending, and then I'm just moving the brush up towards the first set of clouds that I ink blended, and I'm just blending the colours nicely together. And then I will just move that piece of grass that I've die cut a second ago, and I'm just going to place it on my card just to make sure that the clouds are all nicely ink blended. And then I'm taking that purple colour and I'm just adding a little bit of ink to the bottom of the card just to make sure that it's nicely blended. And then we're going to be adding our interactive piece onto the bottom of this card. So I'm just making sure that everything's working how it's meant to, which it is. So now I'm just turning this over, and what I've got is a roll of double-sided foam tape, and I'm just cutting this down in really thin strips. So when you come to this part, you need to make sure that your foam tape is not touching that long rectangular piece, because otherwise your piece is not going to move across the card. So bear that in mind when you are coming to this. You just need to make sure it's right at the top and at the bottom, and then you can also stick a piece at the end, not where the arrow is, the other end, just to make sure that it doesn't pop out, which I didn't do on this video, but that is something you can do. So now it's still working fine. I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing paper off the foam tape, and then I'm going to be placing this onto my card. And this gets easier the more you do it. So I've done this a couple of times, so it's much easier this time around. So I'm just going to take you through what dies I've used. I've got the slimline background piece there. There's the long piece that goes behind the grass. So this is the piece that's going to be moving across your card. There's the piece that I used the paper for, which is going to poke through and have the image on. There we have the notch, and then I will have the slit, and then I've also gone ahead and die cut the arrow again, but in different colour card, because this fits nicely into that piece. And that's the interactive part. So now I'm moving on to my stamping. So this stamp is the Hillside Village stamp set, and then I'm going to be using the You've Got Mail stamp set. So I've stamped my images and I've gone ahead and used the coordinating dies, and I'm just showing you what colours I used. I'm not taking you through the colouring process today, just because I wanted to focus purely on the interactive part. So I've coloured in all my images, and I've used my Copic markers, which I've listed on the screen, so you can pause the video if you want to use the same markers as me. And then I'm just going to go ahead and figure out where to place everything. So another thing that you need to remember when using this die is I've used PVA glue for everything on the background. Anything on the front, if you've got foam pads and you put it near where your piece that's moving on your card is, it will stop at that piece. So just bear that in mind. If you want your snail to go all the way to the end, then don't add another snail here like I've done. But I'm more than happy for it to stop there, because I wanted it to look like he was delivering his letters on his shell to the snail, because he forgot his birthday, and then I had to add that cute little ladybird on top of his shell because I think it just looks really sweet. And then I stamped my sentiment, so that's from the You've Got Mail stamp set, and you also get the die with this, so it cuts out the words for you, which I love. And there we go, there's that part complete. So now I'm just using my PVA glue and I'm adhering this piece down onto that scalloped piece I die cut. This is a normal size DL card, so what I've done, I've just chopped off maybe 1/4 of an inch just to make sure that the scalloped piece fits nicely on there. I didn't want it too long. And once that is adhered down, I'm then going to go in with my white gel pen and I'm just adding some highlighter to their cheeks. I always think they look so much more cuter when you pop on some white highlighter. And that is the card complete. So this is the interactive part. You just pull that arrow and the snail comes across with his letters on his back. So I love these snails, they're super adorable. But thank you so much for watching the video. See you soon.